As we continue celebrating Black History Month, we take a trip back in time to the Civil War era.
A small community in Lackawanna County played a big role in helping African Americans escape slavery. Newswatch 16's Elizabeth Worthington's here now with that story. Elizabeth.
Yeah, good morning, guys. So this is something we all learned about in middle school. We think we know a lot about it, and then every time we dig a little deeper, we learn something new. At least I do. We're talking about the Underground Railroad, a story that many of us are very familiar with, but maybe you didn't know how our area fit into that story, specifically Waverly. A program in Waverly is working to change that.
The doors to these houses in Waverly look unassuming, familiar. In the late 1800s, the people inside them often were too.
People like Leonard Batchelor, whose house is kind of right behind us here.
But back then, these doors and the people who answered them could mean the difference between life and death.
You better hope that the guy who, Mr. Gildersleeve told you about, you better hope that he's there and willing to help out, or else you might be in trouble.
That was E.J. Murphy. He's the program coordinator for the walking tour that takes you through the stops on the Underground Railroad right here in Waverly. Along the way, he hopes to challenge some of our common misconceptions. For one, the Underground Railroad wasn't a neat, precise system. Conductors could change their mind about participating whenever they wanted.
And it was a little bit more of like a wing and a prayer.
God forbid you knocked on the wrong door. Not everyone in the North was in favor of abolishing slavery.
Even though, yes, Waverly was a place where people came and they were safe and they were able to make a life here after living in slavery. They had people who were sympathetic to their cause. You have all of that, but at the same time, you have neighbors who are also skeptical of what's going on and probably aren't very supportive of the Underground Railroad system and the people who are involved.
Take this newspaper article, for example, from the Lackawanna Register.
So this is a Democratic paper, so they're talking about the abolition of slavery, and what they basically say in this column here is that it's a bad thing.
Murphy says this split in opinion was not unique to Waverly, but because of its history with the Underground Railroad, people tend to forget this side of the story.
It's kind of hard to look at the society that you live in and say, well, we weren't perfect either. Right. And I think it's important for us to realize that, because if we have this time period where we thought that everyone was fighting for some righteous cause, it's important to look at how we approach those same issues today.
And Murphy says that's not to take away from the pride people who live here feel towards their community and the former residents who risked their lives to house former slaves.
I think showing that complexity with the neighbors who maybe weren't so sympathetic, again, just kind of highlights just how brave and bold those actions actually were.
So what happened after the escaped slaves found freedom here in Waverly? Well, some did stick around. They built houses and joined the community. Others left for bigger cities to pursue better economic opportunities, but surely none of them forgot the goodwill that was shown to them in a little rural town in northeastern Pennsylvania. Waverly is so close to all of us, and we don't even realize, I didn't know that the Underground Railroad was part of it, and now you can take a walking tour any time of the year.
Such a fascinating little part of history there. All right, thank you, Elizabeth.
Really interesting.
Well, we'll